Hello, welcome to the Gym RPG show. So there's been news this morning that Super Mario 3D All-Stars has leaked online. And while that's not so surprising in itself because a lot of games get leaked these days, what is surprising is that it appears that all of these games are running on an emulator and that it's just 3 ROMs on the cartridge. Yes, a $60 game that you're going to pay for is just 3 ROMs. So we'll get into the news first, but what was really astonishing to me today was that the Nintendo Defense Force was out in arms and were trying to defend this, and some of their responses really blew me away. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the news first, and then we're going to look at some of the responses to this, and then finally we'll come back and discuss. So this is the news from Oatmeal Dome. Super Mario 3D All-Stars has leaked onto the internet. It appears all the games are emulated. Galaxy and Sunshine run under a Wii and GameCube emulator called Haji, possibly made by Nerd, Nintendo of Europe division. Mario 64 is running under a Nintendo 64 emulator, don't know which. Galaxy in particular is really interesting. It appears they recompiled the original code to run natively on the Switch CPU, but everything else, GPU audio, is running in the emulator. Interesting trick. Ultimately, I don't think this is much of a surprise given that all they really wanted to do was re-release these games and they were just going to leave them all intact, so obviously emulator was the way to go. But I think it is disappointing that they've chosen this route to release this as a pack of games and then release it as a $60 product. In the past, they probably could have just released this on the eShop or even as games for the Nintendo Online Members Club. I think what is surprising is that some of these responses from the Resetera forums are defending these business decisions from Nintendo that don't really need to be defended. So I'm just going to read some of these responses out. Now, obviously not everyone on the Resetera forums is defending Nintendo. There are quite a lot of people criticizing Nintendo as well, but the defense force for Nintendo is really out, and they're out pretty strong. So I think some of these responses are hilarious, to be honest. So here's the first one. Is this a surprise? They're not going to rebuild the games from the ground up if they're keeping most of the original assets intact. However, they put in work to increase Mario 64's textures, which is more than what a typical emulated port gets. So it's quite astounding to me how people have just turned this narrative on its head that this is not only a good port, but it's actually one that has a lot of work put in because the textures have been improved. It's almost as if they've redefined what $60 means because it's Nintendo and not another company. Now, Oatmeal Dome has also written another post. Considering the amount of work that Nerd put into their literally brand new Wii and GameCube emulator, I don't think I can really call it lazy. Lacking in features and disappointing, depending on what you wanted, expected, sure, but not lazy. And you know, we always talk about how we don't want to use the terms lazy developer all the time, but this isn't really about the developers. This is more a business decision from Nintendo to release these games as a 3 ROM pack for $60 as a physical limited release that's time limited. So these are the type of decisions that we're calling Nintendo out for, and not because it's re-releasing a game that's been emulated. Here's another hilarious post. A bit disappointing they couldn't be bothered to put Galaxy 2 in the collection then, but I get it. You don't want to have too much value with your $60 purchase. And I really hope he's tongue-in-cheek here, because if he's not, then heaven forbid we have too much value in our games and have 4 games in the one pack rather than 3. You can't really call it low effort when they developed 3 brand new emulators for this game. Low effort would be reusing the Wii U, Virtual Console emulator, and just having Sunshine and Galaxy in 480p. And he's being serious here because a few posts back he said what a great job Nintendo did. So my point here is that the bar has been lowered by Nintendo fans for Nintendo only, and I think that's the problem here. So I'm wondering whether this would be acceptable on other platforms or not, whether this would be acceptable for Sony or Microsoft or other publishers to do, like Capcom or Sega. If Capcom re-released Resident Evil 1, 2, 3 and re-released this as a $60 limited release with 3 ROMs on a disc, whether people would actually complain, and I'm pretty sure they would get dragged for this. So there's a bit of double standards here, and I think that is an issue for fans of gaming. And it's not so much that people are being hypocritical, because everyone is hypocritical at some point. Go back through all my videos, I'm sure I've been hypocritical about something. But I think the problem here really to me is that Nintendo fans consistently lower the standards for what is really acceptable. For example, we have posts about Nintendo doing a good job when they have just improved textures for a Nintendo 64 game, or when they have improved the game so that it's looking better than their Wii U port. I mean, how low can your standards really get? And that's the problem I have right now, is that people continually drop the standards for Nintendo and say it's okay because it's their favorite platform or their favorite franchise. But no matter if they're ROMs or emulators or ports, the Nintendo games keep on selling, and this article from Nintendo Life says that Super Mario 3D All-Stars is already 2020's second best selling game on Amazon. That means it's done better than games like The Last of Us Part 2, Paper Mario the Origami King, and even the whole year's totals for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, games that keep on selling. Whatever Nintendo puts out, it doesn't matter how much effort that they put in, it just seems to sell regardless. But I think the problem here also is that the fact that they made this a time-limited release and that it was $60 meant that a lot of people were driven to buy this when a lot of the scarcity was artificial. Alright, that's it for this one. Make sure you click on the like button if you like this video, and comment down below if you agree or disagree with my take. And as always, subscribe to the channel to get more gaming news and videos like this, and I'll see you in the next one.